welcome to Honest Car Reviews and this Hyundai IONIQ 6. And think of it like a IONIQ 5, but if you wanted to go as far as possible. This is an extremely cool car that proves that Hyundai is on doing incredible things. This may look like a prototype, but it is actually a production vehicle. A car that shows what can be done when you want to go as far as possible. Because with the biggest battery and the rear-wheel drive, you can go over 600 kilometers. With a regular size battery compared to the competition, about 77 kilowatt hour. And you can see how far Hyundai has gone into making this into a very cool and unique looking car. The infinitely long rear, the double deck lid, and the just shape of everything. The rear is so much more meaty than the front. It looks super long, and as I said before, it is a IONIQ 5 base platform, but the wheelbase has been lengthened and the overhangs has been shortened, so there's more space inside. But what I'm most interested in to find out is the rear passenger headspace. But some specs about the car. So in the the max range version, you can go over 600 kilometers, which is this car. But this car has the option out 20-inch rims that brings down the range by up to 11%. So you're about 560 kilometers of range. Then you have the all-wheel drive 300 horsepower plus version, and you have the rear-wheel drive smaller battery version as well. So this is the car that I think the majority of people would buy, except for the extra option rims. Since the car is based on an 800 volt platform with support for 400 volt as well, you can charge this from 10 to 80% in just 18 minutes. And in 5 minutes you can charge this around 130 kilometers. Hyundai also proves that there are no wrong ways to do rear lights. See how pixelated and squarish the rear lights are. Very cool, very retro-futuristic. And the paint is also an extra option. It is blue metallic flakes in it, and if I look at it in the sun, you can see the blue metallic flakes here. Looks really cool. The car has a front boot or a frunk where I would personally store my charging cables. Not the biggest but not the smallest either, and to even have a frunk is quite unique. And let's check out the trunk. And it's a sedan, which means that you don't have that much height to play with. A bit of extra width here, but in general not that much storage. You can fold down the rear seat as well, but if you want the max amount of storage, I would go for the IONIQ 5. It goes pretty far in though. Let's go into the rear passenger seat. No panoramic sunroof. You can opt out a sunroof, but it's not from the front to the rear. I am touching the roof. That's not that comfortable. But there's a lot of foot space. The lower 5 sport is not that good, but the floor is completely flat. You can see how much space you have. A big armrest. The design is unique, but on the verge of looking a bit too cheap, I think, especially with the choice of materials and the color. I really like the metal finish though, and the action of the buttons, just top notch, and the feel of solidity of everything that you touch is just feels like a premium product, I must say. Not too dark in here, a lot of beige, white, gray, but not too dark. and I think I personally like when the interior is a bit on the lighter side than the darker side, especially with the metal finishes. It really helps elevate the feel of quality or luxury or premium feel. Interesting design of everything. This feels a bit cheapish with the design and the choice of materials, as well as this, but the things that you look at, the things that you touch, the active cruise control, lowering and increasing the volume, the climate control and the hotkeys to go into map, nav, media and so on, just feels really good. The indicator stock, the going to drive, reverse, park feels super good. They've nailed the action of the buttons, the stalks, the levers, all of that. Super impressed. This car is not spec'd with the optional camera rear view mirrors, so if the car would be optioned with that, it would be screens here. But if I press the indicator stock, you can see that the 360-degree cameras allow me to see the blind spot. So if there's a pedestrian, a bicycle or a car for that matter, it helps me seeing it. There's 4 levels of regeneration, and this is 0. The car starts in 1, then it's 2, 3 and max, and that basically activates the brakes completely. So if I have the max on and I release the throttle, the car will stop completely quite quickly. Even though you get used to the infotainment system, it's a lot of information to take in. It takes some time getting used to it, I must say. But the things that you use the most, the climate control, you can see how quickly it is at registering everything. Very quick, is available at your fingertips. There are very minor things that I have found this car does poorly, so I have to nitpick. And the steering is very vague, very dead in the response, even though the car has Pirelli P0 tires on it. The feedback from the front is lackluster at best, and the turning radius is also very poor. And because of the lack of feedback and the lack of just general driving dynamics, I think the harshness of the suspension and the more aggressive setup, the more sporty setup, is not needed in the IONIQ 6. They could have set the car up to be more soft. And I think that has a lot to do with the rims being the option out 20-inch ones. If you would get the 18-inch, you would not only have more range, but more tire, which will give you more sidewall flex, more softness and more forgiveness. As of now, I think that the IONIQ 6 is one of the best electric vehicles on the market. It might not have the best rear luggage space and the rear head space, but on all other aspects, the hard aspects, the range, the consumption, the quietness, the charging speeds, it just excels. And it makes it into one of the cars that you should absolutely consider when you want to buy an electric car. Up there with anything else on the market as of now, and is on the forefront of electric vehicles. It might not be everyone's taste in terms of look, but if you want to go far, this is what you have to do. And I personally think that it looks very quirky doing it. And that is my final conclusion for the Hyundai IONIQ 6. See you next time.